I know it's not exactly happy birthday, but it is our signature tune. I'm Alec Hogg, and as you can see, we have some really, well, splendid colleagues who are up on the screen. You're going to hear from each of them in a little while, but the way it's going to work today, and thanks for joining us for this birthday celebration, 7 years on our official birthday, which is the 5th. We actually started on the 3rd, but anyway, we can get into that at another stage. But first up, as we always do, our general manager, Stuart Lowman, will tell us how the technology works, make sure that everybody can actually hear us, and then to see how you can pose questions.
Excellent, thanks, Alec. And it's good to see the team together, all on one screen here. It's lovely, lovely stuff. Just to the people on the webinar, there's a little high five button on the control panel on the right-hand side. If you can see, I think it's 9 cameras, hear my voice and a little presentation underneath, can you hit that high five? Because then I know it's coming through loud and clear. Okay, I don't see any high five, so I'm sure it is coming through.
Oh, they're starting to come through.
There we go.
I'll push your volume up a little, Stu. Yeah.
Excellent, thanks, Alec. And then just on the, as we like to keep these very conversational, as always, there's a little questions option on that control panel. If you put your question in there, I'll ping it at the team member it's directed, or Alec and myself will pick it up. But Alec, I think we're good to go. Yes, high five's coming through nicely there.
Brilliant, thanks guys. And I see we got lots of people in the room, so welcome to this celebration. Stuart's going to just take everybody else off screen as we go forward, and I'm going to give you a little presentation. It's over the 7 years, it's been quite an interesting journey. You might remember that I came to the whole story of internet publishing in 1997. That's before quite a few members of our team were even born. But the MoneyWeb continues to flourish, and we are delighted that it has done so. Okay, but let's get into our little story for today. That was our very first birthday party. You can see, I think those who were there, and hopefully there are a few people who are on the webinar today who were at our first birthday party. At the time, we had offices at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. BizNews was a vibrant little operation. Gugu Mfupi, who is there with Jeanette. I remember she arrived in the dress and we all called her a schoolgirl because she really did look that way. She and I at that time used to share a power lunch show on CNBC. She, of course, worked together with us at MoneyWeb, where she started off as an intern. And you can see some pretty famous people in the middle there. Of course, our mystery shopper and patriarch of the family, Max Clark, 95, still going strong. And next to him, Chris Yelland and Irvine who used to be Irvine Green, who used to be one of our very first contributors. On the right-hand side, a long time in the center of that picture, a long-time supporter, Brett Duncan from Standard Bank. And just below them, you'll see two very famous people, Justin, our nephew, and that's how BizNews started off. Justin, who's a marine biologist, came up and started helping us as the webmaster. And next to him is Meg McKenzie, who's South Africa's champion cross-country runner, or I think it's called road racing runner. Anyway, that was his girlfriend at the time. He's subsequently married someone else. And down the bottom, two of our early supporters, in fact, our very first advertiser, Craig Gradich from Gradich Madura. Craig got hold of me just after we'd started, and he said he'll give me $5,000 a month for advertising, and we thought it was a fortune at the time. So did Craig, and his boutique asset management business is now rated second best in the country after Magnus Haystack's Brenthurst. So it's really proud to have Craig on the screen there. Next to him, Anthony Wilmot, who's another one of our long-term supporters. They're bottom right. And there's Mo, our very first intern. Mo hadn't worked for quite a while. He's a university graduate from Wits. He came in. The Swanepoels sponsored him, Bernard and Tracy, who play a big part in our story. Mo then was with us for a year and went on to carve out a really nice career for himself. He's a producer at Power FM. And then on the left-hand side, a very sad to see one of our great friends, Matthew Lester, Professor Matthew Lester, one of our earliest contributors, who had passed away in the past year or so. A really good friend and a great loss to South Africa and to BizNews. So that was our first birthday party. Second, after that, we decided that we needed to actually start getting a little bit serious, and we went to Tracy Swanepoel's Thinkspiration for a workshop. You can see Tracy's on the right-hand side there, next to another Tracy who used to work with us at the time, Tracy Ruff, and Caitlin Hogg, my daughter, who was very instrumental in our whole journey as well. And we came to the idea, as you can see, all the stuff on the board after a real strong brainstorming session, that we were going to then be hi, Linda. Your camera is working. Okay, we'll speak to you in just a moment. But we had the outline, the strategy. You can see there, and the Swanepoels played an enormous role in getting us off the ground and working in the right direction. I really think it's a brilliant idea for any young company to get that kind of direction early on. Then our second birthday, there it is, biznews.com, 2 years today. Again, we were in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and then decided very shortly afterwards to move away from formal offices to become a remote company. Caitlin doesn't look too happy, or a little surprised, I guess, about having to have her office in the home. And there's Justin and I taking our very first selfies, or my very first selfie anyway. He, as you can see, was far more tech savvy. How it worked was it was on a stick, and that little turquoise thing in his hand is a button. Then in between all of this, there's 2015, 2 years old. It was my annual trip to Davos, or rather ours. Jeanette, who's a huge part in the whole story. In fact, right from day one, Jet and I were joined at the hip with the whole BizNews story, and without her and her management and focus on the things that really matter, which is the people, I don't think we would have. I don't know how long we'd be. Maybe I'd still be doing freelance now, possibly. Every year I used to drag her off to the slopes of Davos for our wedding anniversary, which wasn't exactly a great way to spend, a romantic way to spend a wedding anniversary, but the Dippenars, Laurie and Estelle, that we had the privilege of sharing our anniversary with one night. And there's my dear friend Trevor Ngobe on the bottom left-hand side. He's subsequently gone off to work in Zimbabwe and doing some fantastic work there. We miss Trevor and Gerard so quite a lot. The Davos sojourn was always a big part of BizNews. As you can see, we met and engaged with some pretty famous people. Jeanette in particular, she likes to have those photographs taken, or actually I just like to take them of her. But my favorite photograph here, apart from the one in the middle, Nhlanhla Nene, who's one of the great heroes of the South African fight against state capture, is on the top right, and that is Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel from Genesis. I suppose many of my colleagues don't even know who Genesis is, but Peter Gabriel is one of my all-time heroes growing up, and I got to meet him in Davos and to spend a little bit of time with him. You can see Jeanette hangs around with billionaires when she goes to Switzerland, Patrice and Koos Becker, good company to keep. The opportunities that BizNews has provided as well is to get to meet some really, really good people and some of your own heroes. I think if there's one thing that financial journalism does, is it does expose you to these people. And there I'm interviewing the late Clayton Christensen, professor from Harvard, and certainly a man whose books, The Innovator's Dilemma, which is really, he's the father of disruption, but then he's got another magnificent book called How Will You Manage Your Life, which are life-changing. And our colleague, Tim Modise, who's now back in the fold with us. There's a picture with him and Musi Maimani. He also interviewed a fairly young Julius Malema in our offices. And there's a couple of well-known South Africans that I was thrilled to meet and discuss. Of course, Yanni Mouton at the bottom I'd known for many years, and R.W. Johnson at the top. So we are giving you a little bit of a collage of the good and maybe the not so good. I've been exposed to people who I guess today are not really. Oh, we got to just eliminate Peter Erasmus, who's in the middle of that picture from Pepcore. Shame. In the Rogues Gallery, Peter, if you are watching this, you're not meant to be there, but there's Marcus Jooste and Peter Stader from Stongard, and of course Brian Molefe. So in our game, you meet people from all sides of the spectrum. We then decided, after coming back to Davos, from Davos, there was an enormous amount of pressure going on in South Africa, and we decided that perhaps it was time to globalize this business, concerns about Zoomonomics and what it was doing to the value of the rand. And as a company that is heavily exposed to hard currency, that was the decision to take. And there's our last Christmas party in South Africa. Jeanette likes to get us dressed up. As you can see, I took the photographs, so you can't see what I looked like. But there's Stuart, our general manager, and our nephew Justin. He's on the far right of the photograph next to Jeanette. Rowan Polivan, who worked with us for a few years. Lindy, of course, who's very much a part of the team still. And Lou, Stuart's wife, in front of him. And then on the far left-hand side is our own Jessica Blake, who is Justin's wife. And it was off to the UK. You can see a very different situation. Our dogs weren't that excited about it. That's a little picture there of Jeanette on day one, unpacking boxes. She's a marvel, and I don't think I could have done it I think I'd probably still be sitting there with unopened boxes if it wasn't for her. She gets it all done in one day. But we all know that London was a fantastic experience for us. We were there for 3 years. We met some incredible people, amongst them the founder of Forex, Jeff, who passed on not too long after this. He actually won a big award from Amazon. But Forex, if you go to London now, you will see that there are many of these machines all around the city. What it does is it takes coins and notes, and these are South Africans, by the way, who invented it, and it converts them into euros, dollars, and pounds. There's Alan Knott Craig, good pal, who used to always look me up when he came through London. And of course, Zuma must fall. We were very instrumental in a lot of the issues that happened around there, but that's the story for another day. And there's one of South Africa's top restaurateurs in London, Gerrie Knutze, in the middle of the picture. And of course, my daughter Caitlin next to a iconic picture of Nelson Mandela. I used to walk past that every morning on the way to our office at WeWork. Okay, so also in London, as we were coming towards the end of our stay, I met with Tsepo Malelwe, and this was to prove to be a fateful meeting, because Tsepo and his partner on the right-hand side, Warren Wheatley, became shareholders in BizNews. They acquired a strategic share just over a year ago, and they've been the most fantastic shareholders you can imagine. Tsepo is the chairman of Arena. They went and bought Arena, 100% of it. I've been very involved with them in helping them to settle down that business and to help them chart a new path for it. And as you can see, because of our relationship, BizNews is marked as one of the Arena brands. We're very independent, though. They do have Tsepo, or now through Arena, does have a significant strategic stake in BizNews, but there's no question about any editorial interference, etc. So we're as independent as we were when we started. And that picture, by the way, was taken at the London Portrait Gallery. So you can see there's a little bit of class to us after all. Coming back to South Africa, the decision was to, first of all, we worked remotely, and then we decided that we needed to get more aggressively into our new areas, which is in podcasting and webinars, and we then took offices at WeWork. We did have offices at WeWork in London. Offices at WeWork in Johannesburg are cheaper, and there it was a 2x2 office, and here, as you can see, a 7-person, in fact, 7-person office on the left-hand side. There's some of the team when we used to be allowed to do that. And we have a new radio studio as well to go ahead. As you can see, dogs make quite a big part of our life. Just before I close off with the end of the story here, the aggression with which we have tackled podcasting has paid off. We on the chart, the Spotify chart for South Africa's top podcasts. You can see Gareth Cliff there and Bruce Whitfield there in positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. And there we are at BizNews in position 17. So we're very excited that we've managed to break through into the top listened podcasts, already in the top 20, and we've hardly begun. Most of the other podcasts are international, so there's big opportunities for us to move more aggressively there as well. And the last little bit of my program, my presentation today is just to tell you about our YouTube channel, which we're very excited about. We're getting very good traction there, largely because of all of the podcasts that, the webinars that we're doing. We're having fantastic support from you in our webinars, and I hope you're getting lots of value from it. And then the app, which has surpassed all our expectations. The take-up has been enormous. We've had thousands of people downloading and using the app. So we are moving into a new world, a new generation. Just to close off, if you understand, we are a business. BizNews is a business. We do not survive through handouts, through philanthropists. We don't believe that financial journalism, or any journalism for that matter, has a divine right to existence. We serve our community. As you can see, there's our flywheel, which was brought from Jim Collins' Good to Great, one of the books that he wrote, also Built to Last as well, but he talks a lot about flywheels. That has guided us all the way through. And you can see at the top, community is where we focus. We exist to serve global South Africans. One of our priorities is our help desk, and you'll talk to the inimitable Lizzie Smith in a moment, who runs that for us. We think that you need to have top quality when you're engaging with the community. Our quality on the right-hand side is through the content and that we produce. Then we distribute it widely and encourage our community that we serve to do that too. And of course, reputation. And if we can keep those 4 criteria in the uppermost of our mind, we believe that our business will succeed and will enable us to continue reinvesting and to serve our community better. Well, that's my story for the overview, if you like. And now we are going to introduce you to members of the team, starting off with the newest member of the team, and that's Claire Badenhorst. Claire, let's see if we can get your picture up on screen. There we go. Right. Well, tell us your story. You've only been with BizNews a little while. Lovely picture, by the way.
Thanks, Alec. Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Badenhorst, and I started working at BizNews on the 22nd of July, unofficially, and I've been working here now since the 1st of August, officially. I've been involved in content production for over 7 years now, and I can definitely say that working for BizNews is a new and exciting experience. At BizNews, we really want to help make the world a better place, and we do that by exposing corruption, sharing both sides of the story, and inspiring our readers. And personally, I'm involved in editing our content and also writing the blurbs that help entice people to read our articles. And we believe that your time is valuable, so my job is to help you decide whether or not you'd like to spend the next few minutes reading about what Cyril is up to. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing in the rest of this BizNews journey with you.
Thanks, Claire. And I think that you have started at the right time. I was mentioning this the other day, that the bus is now starting to move. We're doing things differently, and it's through having high quality people like you and our team that we will be able to serve our community better. So next up is, thank you, Claire, is Lizzie Smith. Lizzie looks after the help desk. Stuart's in the background, I think, doing all the changes. So
yes, I've just unmuted Lizzie. We'll move like that. It's all good.
Okay, all right. Let's try and get Lizzie on screen as well. There we go. Well, that's you can see Lizzie in the background. I'm sure we're going to get you on screen in a moment, Lizzie. But do you want to just talk to us a little bit about your your role at BizNews.
Thanks, Alec. Hi, I'm Lizzie. I started working for BizNews last year as a freelance data analyst. I joined the BizNews 6-month internship to learn more about every aspect of the business. We learned about content, podcasts, programs, and the teamwork involved in creating the finished product for the BizNews community. I'm now moving back into the data side, working with Stuart and Clive, who are a lot to learn from, and focusing on the support desk. I've probably interacted with a few of you over the last few months and looking forward to hearing from you in the future. The only constant in BizNews is change. It has pushed me to learn new skills and to step out of my comfort zones, trying new things that I wouldn't usually do, public speaking being one of them. Over the last few months, we have all worked closely with Jet to find our purpose. My purpose is to create a solid dependency which provides a safe space for others to grow. Thanks, Alec.
And tell us about the little baby that's in the picture.
Oh, Billy, she's not so little anymore. She really has grown up. And yeah, Jet was on a call with me earlier where she's been crying because I'm not in my usual spot by my desk.
Where did you find her? Where did you get her?
With my catering business before the lockdown, I went on a trip around on the coast, and she was a sailor's dog, had babies, and she was a little runt and not looking well, so I took her.
Well, Lizzie, we're glad to have you on the team, and I think hundreds of people who are pinging our help desk repeatedly know just how efficient you are. So thank you very much for the work that you do and the way that you serve our community. Stu, our next up is Nadia Swart, another graduate of our internship program. And again, Nadia, put your picture up there. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Aha, you have arrived.
Hi. Yes, I have arrived. I'm Nadia. Everyone, well, you guys will know. I am actually an admitted attorney from the Western Cape High Court. So I practiced as a legal professional for just over 4 years, and I knew that something was missing. I needed to find a position where I could actually do the kind of work that aligned with the most authentic version of myself that I could be. So I took a step back from law, and I was actually just completely taken aback by the fact that at that perfect time I found the internship program that was advertised by BizNews, and I was lucky enough to be taken on as one of the interns, and I learned so much. I'm still learning every single day, and around 2 weeks ago I was asked to join BizNews as a permanent junior journalist, and honestly I can't really express how amazing that is, because I feel like I'm doing something that's important. I can express myself honestly and authentically, and I'm working with an incredible team that honestly wants to do good for the world. So that's my journey.
You remind me a lot of Barry Sargent, my colleague who was, Stu, yeah, thank you. My colleague who actually joined us at the Sunday Times in 1985. He was also an attorney, and he decided he didn't want to practice law because he felt that journalism was the most honorable profession that is available. And Nadia, I look forward to working with you for many years and to help you, to support you as you build your career in this incredible area of service to the rest of society. And lovely having you as a member of our team. Okay, Stu. Thanks, Nadia. We now move on to another colleague of ours who's been around for quite some time. Certainly, we've been around together. There you are, Linda. I was worried that we weren't going to be able to get your picture up. That's a photograph taken from our very first representation at the national elections in South Africa. You came out from London to look after that.
Yeah, that was in May 2019. Well, I'm Linda van Tilburg, as Alex said, and I contribute to BizNews from sunny London. Well, it's sunny today. My background is in television and radio broadcasting. I know Alec from the SABC when we both worked there. And then I discovered through a mutual contact was actually Robbie Fenter in 2018. Then Alec and Jeanette were actually living in the little village next to me, which is called Weybridge. So we connected, and I started working for BizNews in January 2019. And I think, like all the other members of the BizNews team, Nadia's talked about fashion, and I'm an absolute news junkie. I'm incredibly curious and adaptable, and I've never lost the urge to uncover great news stories and hold politicians to account, and to find interesting people to interview. My role is I've got experience of covering events on the ground, as Alex said, the election, and he allowed me to go to Davos earlier this year. And I try to enhance what we do, our stories, with podcasts and interviews. And I also host the midweek catch-up webinar.
And another good one again today. Linda, one of the webinars that we hosted a little while ago has been incredibly well received by the community. I haven't seen it recently, but there were over 20,000 people who'd watched the YouTube video. What's it like being back on television again?
Well, it's kind of intimidating, because I think when we used to do TV, you knew that too. We had a massive team. Now we run things on our own, and I think that's what BizNews is so great about. When webinars came, everybody was trying to find their feet, and we just did it. We just run with it. And I think the good thing about television, I'm not so intimidated by it, but running everything is sometimes a bit nerve-wracking, but we're getting there.
And working from London just shows that anything's possible. We are a very remote team, and it's like you were in the next village here in South Africa. Perhaps I'm in Bryanston and you could have been in Sandton.
Absolutely. And sometimes when I call people on WhatsApp for an interview, they say, there's a +44, what's going on here? But people are adapting to that. So I think there's a nice realization we can work anywhere in the world.
Linda van Tilburg, as you heard, has been a big part of our story here at BizNews, and very happy to have her as a member of our team. Now, someone who's been with us a little longer, as you saw from the pictures of our second birthday, is Lindiwe Molekoa. I hope I've spelt your surname right, Lindy. I always make mistakes there, but you're looking great as always. What is it that you do with BizNews?
Thank you, Alec. As you said, my name is Lindiwe, and my role at BizNews is a staging artist. So I take all the content which my colleagues put together diligently, and I add the relevant links, the photos, and make it pretty for our business community. So this is part of adding value and making sure that the website looks good, and every single article is a beautiful product at the end. So like a stage, when the curtain opens, everything should be in its right place, and this is why I enjoy what I do at BizNews. And my life purpose is to admire others for the work they do, and this is my way of admiring my colleagues and the work that they do. Thank you.
Well, I admire you, Lindy. We go back a long way.
Oh, yeah.
When did we work together at MoneyWeb?
Yeah, I started at MoneyWeb in 2011 and spent 4 years there, and sort of like jumped over to BizNews in 2015.
Well, it's
so
been a
while.
It's been a while. It's been such a pleasure working with you in all of this time, and I'm sure that our community appreciate the enormous effort that you put into making sure that, as you say, when the curtains open at the stage.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you
Lindy.
so much, Alec. Thank you.
As always, such a pleasure to introduce Lindy to our community. And next is the first of our core management team members, Clive Eksteen. He's the famous one in our team, as you can see. He knows Ed Sheeran. And I mean, really, Clive, to me, that's a little bit showing off. How did you meet Ed?
It's a story, Alec. He was at a ODI cricket game at Wanderers, at Bidvest Wanderers at the time, and we heard he had arrived, and he was sitting there, and I went up and presented him with that shirt. And I said to him, on one condition, if you wear it tonight at the concert. And he said, sure, no problem. And later that night at the concert, he was wearing his Protea shirt and doing what he does best. And what an unbelievable guy, and just so down to earth. It was a great experience.
His music is incredible, and he's a global superstar. And he comes. Is that the long room at the Wanderers that he arrived there with? What's on?
No, it was a suite next door to the long room. But even if he arrived in the long room like that, he did walk through. There are two people I've seen in the long room in shorts. It's Ed Sheeran and Ernie Els, and both weren't thrown out, but anyone else would be.
Clive, we need your camera, man. We can't see you on the screen. It's a very nice picture of you with all these famous people, including your wife, Celine, and your kids.
Yeah, my kids. Yeah. Alec, it's been an interesting ride for me. I've known you for years, and it started in early 2000 in the MoneyWeb days as well, and it's been an unbelievable run. And I cut my teeth in media when internet market or internet selling was quite tough, and learned a huge amount around the media marketing space, and really got fascinated with the space. And we are about 20 years later, we in a very, very similar space, and it's unbelievable to be a part of a phenomenal team of really driven people.
We were together at MoneyWeb for many years, and I was very, very sad when you went off to go and do some other incredible stuff with the video billboards for cricket stadiums. But are there any parallels, do you think, now? Because those were early days of MoneyWeb, or relatively early days when we were working there. And I guess BizNews is only 7 years old now.
Yeah, I think they are. The LED boards, as it actually happened in the MoneyWeb offices. You were the one who didn't push me in that direction, but you said to me, I want to put a sign up on our building. Remember, in President Place, like in New York in Times Square. Yeah, we want to put our headlines up, and we got a very interesting person, Maurice Tabakovich from Stella Vista, and I was chatting to him in the reception. I'll never forget it. And he said to me, and we were chatting, I said I wanted to, and George Rotenbach's going to kill me for this, but I said I wanted to take on MegaPro in the sports arena. And Maurice said to me that day, if I gave you an electronic perimeter board, would that give you an advantage? And that's where the parallel comes. I think what it taught me is don't be scared to take things on. Don't be scared to fail. Because the first day we did the LED was at Wanderers. It was England, South Africa in the early 2000s, I think it was 2005. And Clive Lloyd switched it off because it rained, it got wet, and it broke and everything. But the history, the lesson in that is that we got better at it. We really got it right. And now I don't think you see a sporting event without LED. And it's really just being able to try things. Don't be scared to take it on. And certainly I've only been with BizNews for a very short space of time, but that's the thinking that is there. And it's taught me a huge amount.
Yeah, well, it's a short period of time, but it hasn't been for lack of trying from my side. When we were in the UK, we continued to see, come on, Clive, time now, Clive. And finally, we did manage to hook up again together. So we're delighted, and I know that our business partners are also very excited to have you on the team, and we know the contribution that you already have made to the core group in a very short period of time has been phenomenal. So just great to be working with my friend again.
No, thank you, and it's great to be a part of such a good team. Thank you.
Thanks, Clive. I don't know how Jackie is going to top those pictures, but I think that Jackie goes for a different type of a picture there, and it's really Jackie Cameron, who has actually been, I suppose, we've been part of each other's lives for, wow, Jax, 20 years now. I remember the early days at MoneyWeb, when we often used to, well, you'd be boxing and I'd be kind of standing behind you with the likes of Adventure and some of the other criminals that we had to, or that we were exposing. And then when BizNews started 7 years ago, right up front, you were working on it and gave us as much time as A, we could afford, or B, you could spare from your time. And now you're our editor. Now you're the one driving the content into the future. Tell us a bit about your story. Oh, and we need your camera on. Well, Jax.
Yes, so Alec, as you know, we've been working together for a long time. I started working for MoneyWeb also in 2000. And when I first started working for MoneyWeb, my colleagues in the newspaper industry thought I had lost my marbles, because I was going to work for this, what looked like a funny little company in a space that was there was a lot of froth around .coms and so on. And now, 20 odd years later, we look back and a lot of those print-based companies no longer exist. The magazine I worked for no longer exists, and we're in a very different world. But these small companies like this, these are the ones that are driving journalism forward. And so journalism has changed a lot over the last 20 years, but here we are, we're still trying to fight for the common good and try and hold powerful people to account. And we're enjoying every minute of what we do.
Yeah, and coming into the new world, as it were, has been an interesting journey for you too, because had you not traveled around the world, and tell us a bit about that story. I think that if you guys had stayed in Johannesburg, or in Cape Town rather, we would have been working, you would have been editing as a major publication long ago, but you've had a different journey.
So, well, as that picture shows you, my head and my heart are always in South Africa. So it doesn't matter where my body is. The rest of me is always sitting in South Africa, and mostly in Cape Town. And I worked for MoneyWeb from Cape Town, where most of the team was based in Johannesburg. So I've sort of been working remotely for more than 2 decades. And so I'm married to somebody who every now and again his work takes him to strange places. So in 2010, we went off to live in China for just under 3 years, and that was really fascinating. It felt like living literally on another planet. We lived in a city where there was nobody could speak English. I never heard any Western music. My first outing into the supermarket, I found myself snorting like a pig and going moo to find out whether I was looking at beef or not. So thankfully, I learned a few phrases in the 2.5 years, just enough to get me around. But my Chinese pronunciation was terrible. So one day I wanted to go to the People's Park, and it sounded to the little motorbike guy that I was going to the People's Hospital. And sort of 2 hours later, instead of a 20-minute journey, there I was at the other end of the city. So that was really interesting. It was really interesting to have a look at what is now the world's second largest country in terms of GDP. It's a really interesting country because the so-called Western world has embraced it. But when you live there, you can see there really are sort of huge challenges in terms of human rights transgressions. And I mean, this whole COVID-19 pandemic has brought to the fore the problems that you see with animals in supermarkets. And even when I lived there, the market down the road would have you could go and get a slice of dog. Things are done in a very different way. It's a different culture because we wouldn't eat our pets, for example, but Chinese people do. So maybe not their own pets, but the same type of animal. So that was really interesting, and I still I'm fascinated by China, and so really interested in that. And then after that, I did have to say to my husband after 2.5 years, this is fascinating, but please let's get out of Dodge. So he looked around and to see what other opportunities there were, and he looked at countries from Vanuatu to Scotland, which is where I'm based at the moment. And so here we are, we're in Scotland. My children have Scottish accents. My son is a bit torn because he's 16 years old and he's very ambitious about his sporting ambitions, and he wants to play internationally. And so he tells his friends at Glasgow School of Sport that he wants to play for Scotland, but I think he thinks if he doesn't get in there soon enough, he's still got his South African flag at the back there. So that in a nutshell is how I ended up in Scotland.
And BizNews under your leadership?
Well, I've only been doing this for 6 weeks, but the way that we've been working is, and perhaps people would be interested to hear this is that right from the start, Alec has always led the way in terms of guiding and trying new forms of content, and he'll try something for a while and then he'll pass it on to us. So, for example, Alec started the BizNews flash briefing, which has proved very popular with people who want those little bite-sized chunks of news. So he started working on it, polishing it, and then passing it on to the rest of the team. So I'm trying to sort of be guided by that style, because I think that's the style that resonates with me, and so I've learned from you, and I'm trying to emulate in a way, if I can. So that in a nutshell is what I'm trying to do.
Well, Jax, we've seen the result of your editorship, and it has been sensational already. You're hitting the spot in so many areas, and I am deeply grateful to be working with you, to have worked with you for so many years, and look forward to at least another 20 together.
Yes, I hope so. I'm very happy to work with you as well.
Maybe we can make 50, no doubt. I mean, that would be some kind of well, it's not too long to go, but Jax, thank you, and thanks for all that you're doing for our community. And we almost at the end of our meet the staff contingent now, as we move on to the man with the Einstein hairstyle.
Alec.
Stuart Lowman, our general manager.
I'll say, Alec, you can't live life if you don't have a bit of fun, and I suppose COVID has pushed us to different areas of home salons and long hair, etc., and making the most of the situation.
But at least you were law abiding, and you didn't have your hair cut until you were absolutely allowed to. Stu, you've started the BizNews journey, well, virtually from the start, but we were working together when you were the news editor at CNBC, and we had the partnership between BizNews and CNBC right in the early stages, which I'm forever grateful to Rakesh Wai and the CNBC team for working with us and giving us a little leg up right in the beginning of it. But the decision to move to BizNews came via Bloomberg.
Yes, Alex, obviously, as you said, you were on the Parliament show, and I was trying to run the newsroom there. It's a lot different times with such big newsrooms, I think, back then. But yeah, then I got an opportunity to go to Bloomberg, sort of kick off another African TV show with Bloomberg. It wasn't Bloomberg itself, it was a Nigerian investor, and unfortunately, it went belly up. So it was, I remember we used to be across the path from the BizNews offices in that studio that never quite got built, because we were always waiting for the next investment, to get it going, and it just never came. So unfortunately, well, I think if you look at it fortunately, at the end of the day, it did go belly up, and then thankfully I came across to your side, Alec, and it's been and just over 5-year journey from the JSC and Santon. So it's been a phenomenal journey, I think, from where we started doing. So like I told Jay, we've come from the small team where you had the few that just did everything. You might have thought you were a journalist, but you became a techie at heart, you became a salesperson, you did admin, and I think that's the great thing of a startup is you actually do learn the ropes and the insides of the business, which has been fantastic.
Knowing the details is something that I guess big people who join big corporates never really get the advantage of doing. But as you say, in a startup, you have to know how to actually use a screwdriver, as well as what we've gone through in the last couple of years, learning about tech, you and I, has been quite extraordinary. But what about under your general managership? How are you seeing BizNews into the future?
Sure, big question, Alec. Well, that's what I think the first point of call for us is, as we've learned the business, we're finding, hopefully, as you can see with the talent that's been on display today, the right sort of people to fill the pods, which allows us to sort of strategize more, because what you do find in a startup is it's a lot of do. So, and ultimately to take a business forward, I think in this environment or in any environment, is you need time to think and assess and try things. And I think ultimately that's the next step, I think, from a business point of view. Like I mean, yourself included, we've got a bit more time to sort of guide the business and sort of navigate the choppy waters, but also strategize and implement new initiatives, you know, like you mentioned, the app. Things like that, which we probably would have never got time to do, but we've actually got time to put things in place and get teams to build, etc. And sort of take the BizNews brand to more and more people, you know, and sort of grow it and sort of become hopefully I said when we become the people's choice of sort of business media.
We are also at a great advantage, because being a latecomer in media was difficult to make a mark, but it also enabled us not to fall into the content trap, for instance, and many other traps that media does because of legacy. And to be in a business that's expanding and is profitable in this era in our sector is quite it's quite an advantage to be in. But I guess, you know, there's more opportunities will be coming from time to time, and we look forward to growing our team under your guidance.
So you mentioned the content trap, I think it's a key point, and it's how we've sort of navigated the last 6-7 years is that less is more approach, and with the team like the Lindys, etc., making more of the less. You know, you take one piece of content and you spread it wide and you make the most of it, whereas before you sort of fall into a trap that people want more and more, but that's actually not the case. I think the world is awash with too much information. So a key value of less is more is also to be right. You know, we don't always aim to be first. Yes, there are events, like I say, a budget where you want to be first, but generally our key is to be correct. And Alex says we have a lot of humility, you know, around what we do, etc. So yeah, definitely a key guiding piece of material for all to read in the BizNews team, Alec, the content trap.
Indeed it is. It's a prescribed reading for us. We've got quite a few questions, but before we get onto those questions, and I'm sure Stu's going to be answering quite a few of them, we now pick up with Jeanette. And Jeanette I asked her if she wanted to be called Jeanette Clark or Jeanette Hogg on this slide. We've been together on an incredible journey. We were at school together, growing up in the metropolis of Newcastle in KZN. And there she is with her dad. Isn't that a lovely picture with you and your dad? Engineer of the Year. How old was he then?
I think he was 90. He's now 94. So, and he is. He's one of our fans, and he's the first one to ping us or ping Stu when he doesn't get his newsletter or something like that. But from my side, I just want to say thanks, a huge thanks to everyone for being here. You are the most important part of our journey, and you are part of our journey. I also just want to say how grateful I am to be part of this team. It's such a privilege to be working with these incredible individuals, as you've seen. And thank you to Alec for his leadership, your leadership and vision. It's been quite an incredible journey, and just wonderful to be part of it. So my role is the Chief Happiness Officer, and I believe that this is one of the most important roles in business. We all know studies from Gallup show that 80% of the workforce is disengaged, and this is my responsibility. At BizNews, I take it very seriously to make sure that everyone is happy and that we're all enjoying what we're doing and that we're contributing to the team and to the purpose of BizNews, and also that we're fulfilled by the work that we do. We have an internal messaging system called Slack, Most nights I see that the editorial team are still on the channel, they're still posting, they're still talking to each other late into the night. So we don't have a problem of disengagement, and that is just wonderful. So my goal, my duty, is to build an environment that supports this engagement, that supports creativity, that fosters innovation, and that's a fun place for us to come to work, even if it's just switching on our computers and walking down the passage.
And telling everybody they have to stand when they do their little pieces, as you have been doing. But I'm glad you. Thanks, Jet. It's been a great journey. It really has been. And we look forward to many more years together. Certainly, you and I, on this adventure of ours. I guess we can move to the questions now, or comments. I'm going to go off screen and leave the two of you there, Stu, you and Jeanette. Alex Nagel says, a very happy birthday to all at BizNews. Thank you for your wonderful service and long may it continue. Arnie Whitkin, Jet, you know Arnie. Arnie bought, no, he didn't buy that piece of your art, did he? He bid on it anyway at a charity auction in London while we were there. Hi, Arnie. Congrats on your birthday. Not really a question. I hope that you and Jeanette are still occasionally joined at the hip. Well, we certainly are, Arnie, and it's wonderful to hear from you. And thanks for the times that you've written to us as well on BizNews. Edward, I apologize. Nelly Mbeni says, print media has been accessible to LSM 1 to 5. How do you see electronic media being accessed by the same group? Currently, it appears to serve a certain class. There's an interesting question for you, Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Alec. I see the roles have been reversed here. It's quite interesting. I normally ask the questions. But Edward, I think it's interesting. I was actually chatting to someone from Huawei earlier today, and I think a lot of it revolves around spectrum and giving accessibility to spectrum ultimately to the country first. But if you also look at cell phone usage, which is a key part of what how we've created sort of the newsletter, etc., is for mobile usage. I think you've got up to 22 million users on a cell phone. I mean, obviously more cell phones in the country, but that's where they gauge the usership at. So I think it is actually more accessible than we might anticipate. It just depends on what they're accessing, to be honest. But I think there is big scope for digital media across the general population in South Africa.
Aaron Kirkfleet, who is a supporter of ours, and thanks, Aaron. Lovely that you're tuning in from London. He says, really enjoy hearing from team members. We appreciate all that you do. We appreciate your support as well, Aaron. And that's something that I didn't touch on, Stu, and maybe you can just elaborate a little. But we do have business partnerships at BizNews. We don't do drive-by muggings. I remember one of the companies that I wasn't involved with, but they wanted us to get involved with. The general manager there said, well, half our advertising comes from drive-by muggings and the other half is people that we target. And I asked, what do you mean by drive-by muggings? And those are the people who come along, don't really know what they want, but you grab as much money as you possibly can from them in the shortest period, knowing that you're never going to see them again. That's not the game we play. We like to have partnerships, relationships, and if you think about it, okay, so Craig Gradage is no longer with us, our very first advertiser, but apart from him, pretty much everybody else has been with us because we've tried to be mutually successful.
No, I agree, Alec. I think, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it speaks to our values. We actually look and quietly amongst the team, we look at everybody who wants to be associated with BizNews, and if we have a values alignment, then we prepare to talk, and we would love, we then love to collaborate.
I think, Jay, just on top of that, I was going to say there's two key elements there, Alec. The first is that we look for win-wins. I think that's ultimately the key to any partnership. It's not, like you mentioned, the muggings, it's sort of like a win-lose. We'll take your money and we don't care really what happens with the output. For us, it's what happens at the end of the day. What's the purpose? How many, the sales, etc. And you try to build a partnership around things that match the client with the community as well. You know, it's quite a different way, I think, of looking at the sales structure on that side. So definitely win-wins, and bringing the community and the product or the company together is key on that side.
And I like that. We had an approach from an organization in the last few days that Clive was talking to. And what I like about this organization is that we align with their values. And they're sassy, they're independent, they are giving a great service to the people that they serve. It's like First Rand, it's like BrightRock, it's like Discovery. We are very Sable, Magnus, Brenthurst. We just love the guys we work with. Orbvest, Alex Living, and you can keep going on and on. Well, you can't really, because we don't have that many relationships. Bright Light Solar with Kevin, but we're very selective, as Jeanette says. We don't work with people who churn our stomach. That comes from Warren Buffett. And it speaks to this question from Andrew Crawford. He says, the team seems to have a common set of values, and BizNews often profiles business teams with a strong ethos. Do you want to comment, Jet?
Absolutely. That's my job. That's what I love doing. And every Friday we have a meeting, a team meeting, where we talk about the values and we unpack every single value and what it means to the individuals in the team, what it means to BizNews, how it impacts our lives. No, that's something that we very, very strong on. Yeah,
I think it is the key thing from the investing partners, Alec. I think it starts before the values are sort of tried to, match with the team. It's, if you look at how people join the organization, it's sort of it's a key process in trying to sort of find the right values before they enter the building, in a sense. It's the try to get the whole team to interview everyone who joins, etc., so that everyone's on the same page. But like you mentioned, if your gut says something, at least someone in the team will mention it, and then you can sort of either convince them why it's not so, or you go with them, because that's the key. And I think that's one of the key elements on the values, etc., is at the door, really, and trying to, obviously you do your best to make sure they all work hard. But I was going to say also on the advertisers, Alec, you mentioned the less is more. We mentioned it with content, but it's a similar approach with advertisers, because you can't have too many, because you dilute your key advertisers if you have too many. And another key thing on that is it's very difficult, that you have to learn to say no, and that's something that we as a business are getting better at. I think it's not always the easiest thing, but saying no is probably one of your key ingredients with regards to sales, because we always think we need to just do, which again is the content trap on a sales side.
Certainly the support we get from our premium subscribers gives us that independence as well, and the ability to say no. Which also we don't get confused about who we serve. We serve our community. Sorry, Jet.
And on the values side, it's not, what we do is not easy. I've never seen a team that works so hard and works so long, and who are so dedicated and are so passionate about what they do. And if we didn't have this supportive environment and this caring, loving environment that we have, everybody knows that someone's got their back somewhere along the line, and that just helps us to do what we do better, easier, happier.
Dina Kriazik, I hope I got it right, Kriazis, says, congratulations and the best of success for the next 20 years. We're only 7 there, Dina, but we intend getting there. Ron Summers says, thank you for a happy birthday and many more years in success and good health. Thank you for mentioning that, because that is top of the priority. As Jeanette says, if we don't, if the team aren't happy, they aren't healthy, and if they aren't healthy, well, they aren't going to be happy, are they? Congratulations, BizNews from Jane Tennant. I appreciate your authentic style from the beginning. So good to see and hear your story. Dorian Wrigley says, well done, BizNews team. Inspired by what you guys are doing, encouraged by your growth. Thank you for keeping South Africa on the map with a world-class service. Cecil Scher, how does BizNews make its money? What are the services to clients? Okay. Stu, do you want to go on that?
Yeah, sure. So as Alec mentioned, the key sort of variable on that is obviously the premium section. So that's on the community side. But in terms of the services, we've mentioned partnerships, and then we've got advertising opportunities as well. And we see where we can align depending on the client itself and how it fits in. Again, because as you mentioned, Alec, the partnerships, you can't have too many. It's about finding the right partnership. So it's quite a key variant on that side. And advertising, we can look at what works for relevant clients, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the key sort of revenue drivers on the business side.
And as far as the advertising and the service to the client is concerned, we take our relationship very, very seriously. We are transparent. We provide enormous amounts of data, as you heard from Lizzie earlier on. She works closely with Stuart and Clive so that you actually know what your money's buying for you. It always baffled me that people were prepared to go with, I think it was Wanamaker who said that 50% of the advertising works. We just don't know which 50%. Our view is that 100% must work, or you must stop spending it. So that's really what we're about. We're not here to serve advertisers. We're here to serve our community. However, we do realize that until a BizNews Premium gets to the stage where it will fund the whole business, and that's our intention, of course, that we will be working very closely with those whose products we believe are appropriate to our community, and we expose those products to our community in an ethical way. So that's how it works, Cecil. Elaine Manas says, thank you for your wonderful daily webinars that have been my mainstay during lockdown. We're delighted you like them, Elaine, and we know our community is grateful that we've been doing them for 5 years. So it was easy for us to slip into a more aggressive thing. Bruce Morgan says, this is not a question, simply a compliment. You guys are great. I really enjoy the interviews and news you share with us. Thanks and regards, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce, for that. Sharon Emmerich says, heartiest congratulations. And it's been so good meeting everyone. Thanks to all, especially enjoy the webinars and radio podcasts. Got many colleagues and clients tuning in. All the best, Sharon Emmerich. And you're our favorite, Sharon. That's exactly what we're hoping for, that you can tell your 100 closest friends and they can tell their 100 closest friends about us. Brett Rosendahl says, not a question, just a comment of support. So happy to have BizNews, joined BizNews recently and impressed by the depth of your team and relationships. Thank you. A pleasure, Brett. And then Edward again says, happy 7th birthday and wish you many more returns. Thanks, Edward. And we will be trying to get to those LSM 1 to 5s, I can assure you. Chris Pohl, I think is, yeah, it is indeed. This is not a question, but a hearty congrats from me to the team as a simple subscriber. The values you're talking about are evident. Warm regards from Bangalore. Lovely to have you, Chris, all the way from India. Stuart Pennington, our dear friend from KZN, says, mooi so, kerels. Baie dankie, meneer. Kan nog Afrikaans 'n bietjie gooi daar, né? Linda and I can. And then Liz Kluwer, happy birthday. We wish you many more great, successful years ahead. Amazing team. Look forward to the future. Newsletters and fantastic webinars. All the best. Tracy Swanepoel, thank you, Trace, for being on the webinar from the far north. What an incredible journey. So thrilled for this amazing team. I've loved this. Tracy, Bernard, and Zach. And that is bringing the end of all our discussions. We have a very special surprise for our very first 7 premium subscribers. Jeanette's going to read the list out in a moment. I don't have it.
I haven't got it up on my screen.
Maybe Lizzie's got them. Somebody's, I need to share my webcam. Okay. Maybe somebody's got them, but we're sending you a very, very special mug to celebrate our 7th birthday. Our first 7 subscribers to BizNews Premium are still all subscribers to BizNews Premium. So that's got to tell you something. They came along for the journey right in the beginning. And Jean Rose, Jean, so lovely to hear from you. Happy birthday, thank you, and for your webinar. Well, that's it from us here at Team BizNews. We've overrun by about 5 minutes. And I don't know where that's coming from, Stu.
I've got it. It was Jeanette.
Got it. Okay, but thanks again for really giving us your time and for getting a little closer to us and getting to meet a few of the people that are here to serve you every day. From me, Alec Hogg, and every member of our team. Until the next time, in a year's time, cheerio.